I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, a physician specializing in the health and physiology of adults over 60. And a large part of that work is helping seniors rebuild the deeper, more stable sleep their bodies once produced naturally. Many seniors believe oatmeal before bed is one of the healthiest choices they can make. And they're right. Oatmeal is good for sleep. It's gentle on digestion, it's low GI, and it gives your body a steady release of energy through the evening. But after 60, that bowl of oatmeal is only half the story. Three sleep systems naturally weaken with age: your evening glucose stability, your cortisol rhythm, and your serotonin melatonin pathway. And here's the part almost no one realizes. Oatmeal alone doesn't fully support any of those systems. In fact, even with oatmeal, many older adults still experience a glucose dip during the night, the exact dip that triggers a 1 to 3 a.m. awakening. That's why you may fall asleep easily, yet wake in a light, unstable state, unable to sink back into deeper rest. The real difference isn't whether you eat oatmeal, it's what you add to it. In this video, you'll discover the 5 most effective ingredients you can mix into your evening oatmeal to stabilize nighttime blood sugar, calm cortisol, support serotonin, and strengthen melatonin production. And ingredient number 1 is strong enough to improve deep sleep in just a few nights. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe. It helps more seniors find real, science-based sleep guidance. Let's start with number 5. Number 5, Ceylon cinnamon. Most people think cinnamon is just a flavor, something you sprinkle for taste, warmth, or a pleasant aroma. But when you're over 60, cinnamon becomes something very different. It becomes a glucose stability tool, and glucose stability is one of the most overlooked keys to preventing the 1 to 3 a.m. awakening cycle that so many seniors struggle with. After 60, your cells don't respond to evening carbohydrates the same way they used to. Even a gentle, low GI food like oatmeal can create a curve that's easy to drop too fast. And when glucose drops too far during the night, the body triggers a cortisol release. That cortisol bump doesn't fully wake you, but it lifts your brain out of deep sleep and pushes you into a light, unstable state where every sound, every shift in temperature, and every internal signal can interrupt rest. Many older adults describe the same experience: falling asleep easily, sleeping well for the first part of the night, then suddenly lifting out of sleep for no clear reason. Not hungry, not stressed, not uncomfortable, just awake before they want to be. That mysterious awakening is often nothing more than a glucose dip paired with a cortisol rebound. This is exactly where Ceylon cinnamon makes a difference. Cinnamon has a unique ability to improve insulin sensitivity and flatten the nighttime glucose curve. It doesn't spike blood sugar, it doesn't interfere with digestion, and it doesn't overstimulate. Instead, it keeps the curve steady enough that your body doesn't need to fire off cortisol to correct it. When cortisol stays quiet, the brain stays asleep, especially in the second half of the night. One clinical trial showed that daily cinnamon intake improved insulin sensitivity by about 24%, which is a major advantage for older adults trying to maintain a stable overnight glucose profile. You don't need the full daily dose in your oatmeal. Even a small amount provides a gentle stabilizing effect that can prevent the midnight crash. Most seniors who add cinnamon to their evening oatmeal describe the same 2 benefits. First, they stop waking up with that sudden shift, the feeling of being pulled out of sleep before the mind understands why. Second, they feel more grounded and steady upon waking because the body hasn't been battling cortisol spikes all night long. To use it correctly, add about half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia, after the oatmeal is finished cooking. Adding it after cooking preserves more of the compounds that support glucose stability. You don't need more than that. A larger amount won't help you sleep better and may even create digestive warmth that's too stimulating late at night. Used consistently, cinnamon turns your oatmeal from a simple warm meal into a nighttime anchor, one that keeps the glucose curve steady, calms the cortisol rhythm, and protects the second half of your sleep. Number 4, ground flaxseed. Many people add flaxseed to oatmeal because they've heard it's good fiber. And that's true. But when you're over 60, flaxseed becomes much more than fiber. It becomes one of the simplest ways to extend the energy curve of your evening meal, and that single effect can dramatically reduce the early night awakenings that so many seniors face. Here's what happens inside the body as we age. The digestive system slows, carbohydrate absorption becomes less predictable, and the brain grows more sensitive to fluctuations in energy supply. Even when you choose a healthy carbohydrate like oatmeal, the body can process it faster than expected. That leads to a subtle drop in glucose, not enough to cause hunger, but enough for the brain to sense that the fuel supply is thinning. When that happens, the body sends a small alert. Cortisol rises, sympathetic tone inches upward, heart activity becomes slightly more noticeable, and the brain transitions out of deep sleep into a lighter phase. Many older adults describe this moment as, "My sleep just loosened," or "I wasn't awake, but I wasn't fully asleep anymore." It's a sign of the exact kind of sleep fragmentation we're trying to prevent. Ground flaxseed helps by slowing the entire curve down. Its soluble fiber blends with the carbohydrates in the oatmeal and turns them into a slower, steadier fuel source. Instead of burning through the bowl in 1 or 2 hours, the body receives a gentle release that supports the first half of the night. And that stability is crucial because the first half sets the tone for the second half. Flaxseed also contains ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that reduces low-grade inflammation. For older adults, this matters because nighttime inflammation is linked to micro-awakenings and vivid disruptive dreams. A calmer inflammatory profile means fewer internal signals, pulling the brain out of deeper stages of rest. A small clinical study on older adults found that soluble fibers from seeds, especially flaxseed, reduced nighttime awakenings by supporting smoother glucose transitions. It wasn't a dramatic effect, it was a consistent one. And consistency is exactly what older adults need. Small, physiologically predictable changes that hold the night together. One of the most noticeable benefits seniors report after using ground flaxseed is this. The first half of the night becomes stronger. They don't drift upward into light sleep as easily, and when they do wake briefly, they fall back asleep without the long, restless gaps that used to follow. To use it correctly, make sure you choose ground flaxseed, not whole seeds. Whole seeds pass through the digestive system without providing these sleep benefits. Add 1 tablespoon after the oatmeal is cooked. Adding it afterward preserves its nutrient profile and prevents the meal from becoming overly thick or pasty. When you add it the right way, flaxseed doesn't just sit in the bowl, it silently steadies the entire first half of your night, giving your body the fuel stability it needs to stay in deeper, more connected sleep. Let's continue with the next ingredient. Number 3, walnuts. Number 3 is one most seniors recognize as a healthy fat, but very few realize just how directly it affects the brain's sleep signals, especially after age 60. Walnuts aren't just a source of good fats. They are one of the only whole foods that naturally supply 3 things older adults lose with age: melatonin, omega-3 precursors, and polyphenols that calm nighttime inflammation. And when those 3 slip, the architecture of sleep becomes fragile. Here's what most people don't realize. After 60, your brain doesn't just struggle to produce melatonin, it struggles to receive the signal. The receptors become less responsive, the evening rise becomes flatter, and the internal clock drifts. That's why many seniors fall asleep normally, but the sleep gets lighter, dream heavy, or unstable in the second half of the night. Walnuts target that problem directly. Walnuts contain small but meaningful amounts of natural melatonin, the same form your body produces, not the synthetic version found in supplements. When eaten with evening meals, they help reinforce the nighttime signal the brain needs to maintain sleep rather than slip upward and break into shallow stages. And because the melatonin comes packaged with fats, it absorbs gradually, supporting a smoother curve through the night. But melatonin is only part of the story. Walnuts are also one of the richest plant sources of ALA, the omega-3 precursor your body converts into DHA. That matters because DHA supports neuronal communication, the very mechanism that helps the thalamus quiet sensory noise during sleep. This is one reason older adults with low omega-3 status often describe active dreams, busy brain, or waking up from very light, unstable sleep. Improving DHA intake through whole foods strengthens this neural quieting, especially in the middle of the night. Polyphenols in walnuts play another role. They reduce low-grade neuroinflammation. Most seniors don't feel this inflammation as pain. They feel it as fragmented sleep, early morning alertness, or waking with a warm or pressured sensation in the head. Reducing that background inflammation improves slow-wave activity, which deepens and stabilizes the night. There's clinical backing for this. A small USDA-supported study found that diets, including walnuts, increased circulating melatonin and were associated with improvements in total sleep time. In some cases, 45 to 60 minutes more consolidated rest. That's not a sedative effect. That's neuronal signaling being restored closer to what it used to be. For many older adults I've worked with, adding walnuts is the moment their nights stop floating near the surface. One woman in her early 70s used to describe her second half of the night as half awake, half dreaming. Within a week of adding walnuts to her evening oatmeal, she reported fewer vivid dreams, less tossing, and a steadier, more grounded sleep. The practical side is simple. 4 to 5 walnut halves added after cooking your oatmeal is enough. Adding them after cooking preserves the natural oils and melatonin. Don't blend them into the pot. Heat degrades the very compounds that make them effective. And if you have a sensitive stomach, chop them finely so digestion is easy and gradual. Walnuts don't knock you out. They stabilize the signals that keep sleep intact, something older adults need more than ever. Number 2, pumpkin seeds. Most people think of pumpkin seeds as something you snack on in the afternoon or sprinkle on a salad. But for adults over 60, they are one of the most direct ways to repair the chemistry that keeps sleep from holding together through the night. After 62 quiet deficiencies show up again and again in sleep labs. Low magnesium and low zinc. You won't always see them on standard blood tests, but you feel them in your nights. Light, fragile sleep, muscles that don't fully relax, a nervous system that never quite shifts into night mode, and a melatonin signal that feels too short and too weak. Pumpkin seeds go straight at that problem. They are naturally rich in magnesium, the mineral that supports GABA, your brain's main calming neurotransmitter. When magnesium is low, the brain doesn't fully release its daytime tension. You fall asleep, but the nervous system doesn't stay settled. Small noises wake you. Dreams feel too vivid. You drift up toward the surface of sleep instead of staying deep. At the same time, pumpkin seeds provide zinc, which is essential for serotonin production and for the enzyme that converts serotonin into melatonin. If zinc is lacking, the body simply can't run that pathway efficiently. That's one reason many older adults take melatonin and still sleep lightly. The upstream chemistry hasn't been supported. Clinical research backs this up. In a trial of older adults with insomnia-like symptoms, improving magnesium intake led to better sleep efficiency, fewer awakenings, and a calmer pattern of brainwaves during the night. Pumpkin seeds offer the same mineral in a gentle, food-based form, with zinc alongside it to complete the serotonin-melatonin chain. I've seen this play out over and over. One man in his mid-60s described his nights as tired but wired, his body exhausted, his brain never fully off. Within a week of adding pumpkin seeds to his evening oatmeal, he noticed 2 changes. His muscles stopped twitching as he fell asleep, and when he did wake briefly, he slipped back into sleep instead of lying there for an hour. To use pumpkin seeds properly with oatmeal, form and timing matter. The body absorbs them best when they're lightly ground or crushed, not whole. Whole seeds tend to move through the digestive system too quickly to deliver their full benefit. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons over your oatmeal after it has finished cooking. That way, the heat doesn't damage the delicate nutrients and they blend with the oats to create a calmer, slower release of fuel through the night. Choose unsalted, unflavored seeds. Extra sodium late in the evening can push the heart and nervous system in the wrong direction, and keep the amount moderate. You're feeding the sleep pathways, not trying to turn the meal into a heavy, high-fat snack. Done this way, pumpkin seeds turn a simple bowl of oatmeal into a mineral-rich, nervous system-supporting evening meal that helps your brain stay in the deeper, steadier phases of sleep your body still remembers how to reach. Number 1, tart cherry powder. Among all the foods you can add to oatmeal at night, this is the one older adults underestimate the most. People hear tart cherry and think of a pleasant flavor, a bit of vitamin C, maybe something mildly relaxing. But in adults over 60, tart cherry powder does something far more important. It directly strengthens the sleep architecture that weakens with age, the same architecture responsible for staying asleep, not just falling asleep. Here's the core truth. After 60, your natural melatonin output drops sharply, and the pathway that releases it becomes more fragile. That's why so many seniors can fall asleep but can't stay there. The signal simply doesn't last. Tart cherry powder goes directly into that pathway. It contains actual plant-based melatonin, not a synthetic hit that spikes and crashes, but a naturally balanced form paired with anthocyanins, compounds that calm the inflammation around the sleep centers of the brain. And that combination matters. Sleep scientists now understand that melatonin alone isn't enough. The brain's receptors must receive it clearly, without the noise of inflammatory activity or nighttime sympathetic fight or flight activation. Tart cherries bring both, the hormone and the environment in which the hormone works. A clinical trial in older adults showed something remarkable. Tart cherry supplementation increased total sleep time by roughly 84 minutes. Not because people fell asleep faster, but because their night held together. Fewer breaks, fewer shallow phases, stronger deep sleep cycles. Those results line up perfectly with what I see in real seniors using it correctly. One woman, 71, told me she was waking 4, sometimes 5 times a night. Not for long, just enough to break the continuity of sleep. Within days of adding tart cherry powder to her evening oatmeal, the pattern shifted. She still woke once, briefly, but the other awakenings simply disappeared. It felt like the night became solid again, she said. And that is exactly what this ingredient is designed to repair. To get the full benefit, the form and timing matter. Powder is stronger than juice because it concentrates the melatonin and anthocyanins without the sugar load that destabilizes nighttime glucose. Mix 1 to 2 teaspoons into your oatmeal after cooking, so the delicate compounds aren't broken down by heat. If you prefer dried tart cherries, use about 2 tablespoons, but choose unsweetened versions only. Avoid mixing tart cherry with dairy. Calcium-rich dairy competes with the uptake of melatonin and diminishes the very effect you're trying to create. And don't take it too close to bedtime. 45 to 60 minutes gives the body time to absorb and release the compounds in sync with your natural evening rhythm. When done correctly, tart cherry powder doesn't just improve sleep. It restores the coordination between melatonin, inflammation control, and nighttime nervous system calming. It gives older adults something most haven't felt in years, a night that stays whole, connected, and truly restful. Here's the part most people miss. Using these ingredients isn't about making oatmeal healthier. It's about turning a simple evening meal into a targeted sleep support system, one that works with the biology of older adults, not against it. After 60, your sleep depends far more on stability than sedation. Stable glucose, stable cortisol, stable neurotransmitters. Oatmeal gives you the base, but the ingredients you add determine whether that base holds through the night or collapses at 1 to 3 a.m. When you combine cinnamon, flaxseed, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and tart cherry powder, you create what sleep physiologists call a multi-pathway support curve. Each topping strengthens a different part of nighttime physiology. Cinnamon flattens glucose swings, flaxseed extends fuel release, walnuts reinforce melatonin signaling, pumpkin seeds boost serotonin production, and tart cherry powder stabilizes deep sleep architecture. 5 small additions, each subtle on its own, become exponentially more powerful when used together in the right window before bed. And this is exactly why oatmeal works so well as the carrier. Its natural beta-glucan slows digestion just enough to deliver these compounds over several hours, rather than all at once. That slow, steady release is what prevents early night cortisol rebound. One of the biggest reasons seniors lose the second half of the night. Use the formula consistently, not perfectly. One senior I worked with, age 74, told me she followed the routine only 5 nights a week. And even then, she went from waking 4 times a night to waking once. Another, 68, said the biggest change wasn't just sleeping longer, it was waking clear, without the fog and heaviness she thought were just aging. This isn't a trick, and it isn't temporary. It's nutrition aligning your biology back into rhythm, night after night. When most older adults think their sleep is slipping, they assume it's age. It never is. What changes after 60 is the strength of the internal signals that hold the night together. And food is one of the fastest ways to bring those signals back. The toppings we covered today aren't tricks. They're inputs your brain recognizes instantly. Steadier energy through the night, calmer cardiovascular activity, a smoother serotonin-melatonin transition, and less inflammatory noise in the background. When those four things improve, the second half of the night, the part most seniors lose, finally becomes stable again. And that's the real goal. Not perfect sleep, not silent nights, but coherent sleep. A night that doesn't break apart after that first cycle. Give your body a chance to adjust. Start with the ingredient that feels easiest for you to use. Repeat it for a few days. Most seniors notice the shift gradually. Fewer jolts awake, less restlessness, and a morning that feels more collected and clear. If this video helped you understand your sleep better, tap like so the algorithm shows it to more seniors who need it. Share it with a friend who's been waking up exhausted. And subscribe, because the next video continues this series, and I don't want you to miss the tools that can help you rebuild your nights. You're not losing sleep. You're learning how to support it again.